Don't you think it was like so sweet when he hijacked her grandmama? I wish my husband would kidnap my grandmama. My grandma. Maybe not. That's not like legal. Hello, welcome back to my channel. I've always wanted to say that, but I find it extremely annoying and I'm sure you will too. Welcome back to my, whatever this is, my channel. Today, I am so excited because we are going to talk about one of my most beloved childhood movies. It ranks up there with my other beloved childhood movie, Pulp Fiction, but don't you worry because it's going to be a lot more innocent. And it is the 1997 animated classic, Anastasia. Anastasia. So sit back, grab your favorite cup of tea. We are going to embark on a deep dive of Anastasia's many animated costume changes. We're also going to gossip about the movie's origin stories, the Romanov dynasty, Rasputin, the Russian love machine, and mark my words, we are going to ship the everlasting hell out of Anya and Dimitri. Let us begin. Anastasia. I never knew there was so much drama behind the release of Anastasia. The movie was spearheaded by Don Bluth, who was basically the head of the 20th Century Fox Animation Studios. He brought Fox great success with the animated An American Tail, stealing the thunder from Disney. Disney in the 80s was in the depths of their dark age. They released The Black Cauldron. That didn't do well. The company was doing poorly financially. They lost a little bit of their animation cred to An American Tail, thereby setting up a grudge. Fast forward to 96, 97, Disney is at the height of its animation renaissance. The Little Mermaid in 1989, Lion King, Aladdin. Any 90s kid will know that this is the golden age of Disney animation. But 20th Century Fox would like a little piece of the pie. They tasked Bluth with creating the next iconic animated movie that can compete with Disney. So they dove into their film library looking for movies they already owned to remake into an animated movie. My Fair Lady was a top contender for a remake, but as we all know, My Fair Lady is already a classic starring Audrey Hepburn, and the songs were already top-notch. There's no more improvement that you can add to My Fair Lady. So seeking a property for a remake, they settled on the 1956 black and white version of Anastasia, starring Ingrid Bergman and Yul Brynner. If you really look at the plot and storyline of Anastasia, there's definitely a heavy nod to My Fair Lady. So they snuck that plot line in there. Dimitri and Vlad make over the rough and tumbled Anya into a beautiful swan. Even though they bicker, even though there was a fair amount of savage bantering going on between Anya and Dimitri. Dimitri falls in love with her and vice versa. Oh God. Okay, it's still the beginning of the video. I'm not going to get into all the chemistry between Anya and Dimitri. That will come later. That I am saving for dessert. Definitely a nod to My Fair Lady. Actually, it's the entire plot line to My Fair Lady. And we can appreciate the recycling of a classic storyline. In 97, Fox really wanted a piece of the coveted animated princess pie. So Anastasia was supposed to be their entry, their golden ticket into creating an iconic princess. 20th Century Fox was so optimistic that Anastasia would be their cash cow, their ticket into the Legion of Princesses, that they actually spent more money in marketing Anastasia than Independence Day. That's to clue you in on how much they are betting on Anastasia sweeping the box office. And I remember when I was a kid seeing commercials about Anastasia, especially when she was doing the Once Upon a December number, the swooshing of her gauzy dress. The marketing tagline was sweeping the world by storm. So they were very confident that Anastasia will sweep the box offices and usher them into the legion of animated princesses. At this time, Disney was on the tail end of their renaissance. The year was 1997. The previous release from Disney was The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which was a great movie, but unfortunately, I don't think a lot of people saw it. It did not do as well as they thought it would. And in February, they released Hercules. Hercules, which in my opinion was not up to par with the Aladdins and Little Mermaids and Beauty and the Beasts. And in the meantime, their competition was brewing. Remember in the 90s, when studios actually had competition, they weren't all merging, forming monopolies. They were feeling pretty nervous, especially with Anastasia about to sweep the world by storm, and they are not going to sit back without a fight. So Disney plays dirty. You don't want to mess with Disney. They're the king of the world for a reason. They've banned all ads for Anastasia on the wonderful world of Disney. While Anastasia was slowly collecting steam in the popular consciousness, Disney decided to re-release The Little Mermaid, the film that ushered in the Disney Renaissance, on the exact same day as Anastasia. And did it work? Did The Little Mermaid steal Anastasia's thunder? The Little Mermaid made $27 million in the box office. So while Anastasia, with all its marketing budget, larger than Independence Day, and we're talking about Independence Day here, Anastasia, with all its marketing budget, could have made #1 at the box office. But if it were not for The Little Mermaid siphoning off its sales, Anastasia would have been #1. But instead, it came in as #2. What came in at #1, you may ask? Mortal Kombat: Annihilation. Have you seen it? I haven't either. So there you have it. 2 great movies, duking it out so that a lesser movie could take the throne. After all that bad blood, after all these dirty marketing tactics, Disney bought Fox in 2019, so now Disney currently owns Anastasia. It comes full circle. Actually, it just results in Disney owning everything. I'm not dissing Disney. You don't ever want to diss Disney. You don't ever want to diss your overlords. The movie Anastasia begins with the fall, the decline of the Romanov family on account of Grigory Rasputin, the mad monk who was taken into the confidant of Tsarina Alexandria. So this is a very far off tangent from the costumes of Anastasia, but I figured, when am I ever going to talk about Rasputin? There's a lot of scalding hot tea to be spilled about Mr. Rasputin. And if you hear some groaning, it's my stomach because I'm hungry. Much as Rasputin was hungry for a variety of earthly delights. He was a spiritual man, he was a mystic, considered a mad monk by the Russian nobility, but he was a man who enjoyed his fair share of pleasures. Having proved himself as a man of God, a man of medicine, he's a doctor apparently, he was taken to the confidant of Alexandria, the queen, who was very worried about her youngest child, her only son, Alexei, because Alexei suffered from hemophilia. Hemophilia is the genetic disease that happens when you marry your cousin. Nicholas II and Alexandria were not far off the family tree. They were both related to Queen Victoria. I got the first cousin down, but second cousins, third cousins, very confusing to me. All I know is that one should never marry your own cousin because you risk playing the genetic Russian roulette of having children with horrible genetic deformities. Diversify your income, diversify your gene pool. Do not breed with your brother or your sister. Do not breed with your relatives. Incest, don't do it. Stepbrothers and stepsisters, maybe. Give you a pass for that because, strictly speaking, they don't affect the Punnett square. And you should listen to me. I have a degree in biology. I don't know why I got this degree. What the fuck am I even talking about? So Alexei suffered from hemophilia, which whenever he has a cut, it would not heal. He cannot form blood clots. And he suffered from seizures. Well, it turned out doctors at the time were prescribing him aspirin, which is something that you do not want to give somebody suffering from uncontrolled bleeding. Rasputin, kind of like a naturalist who does not believe in taking medicine, kicked the doctors out of the room, stopped Alexei from taking any more aspirin, and his seizures ceased in Rasputin's presence. So his mother would think Rasputin was somehow responsible for Alexei's recovery. As a result, he got promoted, rewarded with accolades, with social status, but he had an alternative lifestyle. He was a very ungroomed, unhygienic man, didn't believe in regular bathing. He had a long crusty beard, which he didn't comb. He didn't own any beard oil, so grooming was out of the question. He was reportedly a very active participant in group activities. And by group activities, I mean fornication. He was a great team player in that sense. He shook everybody's hands, and by hands, I mean genitals. It's no secret that he was a man who enjoyed earthly pleasures, but the Russian nobility were not fond of Rasputin's extracurricular activities, especially since he was notorious for having horrible table manners. He ate like an animal. He would rip up bread and food, whatever rich people ate back then, with his bare hands and just gobble it up like a mongoose in front of the royal family, who didn't really care that he had horrible table manners. They were just so grateful that he was there to save Alexei. Considering that the activities that he was into, that's not all food on his beard. Rumors began circulating around that he and Alexandria were having an affair, and maybe Nicholas was involved in it. The ladies, despite his lack of grooming, despite his lack of bathing, ladies thought he was hot stuff. It's kind of like he's a rock star. You know how like rock stars are kind of gross and disgusting, but ladies throw their panties at them anyways? Let me think of an actor who is also kind of icky, but has a certain appeal to him. Benicio del Toro. He's kind of like Benicio del Toro. A little dank, a little funky, but you cannot deny his animal magnetism. So the ladies were very drawn to him. They were probably throwing their bloomers at him, and it seems he would engage in extramarital affairs with ladies, and their husbands would approve of it. Husbands of ladies would not mind that their wife were engaged in activities with him, and some men may even want to watch. I don't know if you're aware, but there is a whole niche of, how do I say this so I don't get demonetized, content on the internet, all about men who don't mind watching their wives with other men, the cucks. They like to be cuckolded. Cuckold is a funny word, isn't it? It's also a funny thing to want to have done to you. In any event, some Russian men enjoy a good cuckolding, and they think it was quite the honor that Rasputin, the mad monk mystic cult leader, is the one to have cuckolded them. All this did not go over well with a few conservative members of the Russian nobility. They think that Rasputin, being so entrenched in the royal family, is giving the imperial family a bad name. A band of nobles, whose name I will no doubt butcher, more successfully, mind you, than they were at butchering Rasputin, came together and came up with a plan to assassinate him. The group was led by Prince Felix Yusupov. They invited him over to Yusupov's palace and supplied him with pastries with tea laced with cyanide, thinking that this will do him in. So Rasputin starts gobbling up the pastries, guzzling his cyanide-laced teas, crust all over his beard. He consumes so much of the tea, but does he die? No, he doesn't. He has a sturdy constitution. The nobles are understandably perplexed. They excuse themselves. Why isn't he dying? Why won't he die? They regroup and come back and offer him Madeira wine, also laced with cyanide. Cyanide, by the way, tastes like almonds, I'm told. Not that I will hopefully ever experience it unless I piss somebody off. He guzzles down the wine. No effect. He's still healthy as a horse. And Yusupov loses his patience. He comes in with a concealed pistol, and as Rasputin is still gobbling up his almond cakes, Yusupov draws and right in the chest. But does that kill Rasputin? They take his lifeless corpse to the basement. After several hours, they come to do away with the evidence, and they get the scare of their lives. Rasputin's corpse springs up, attacks his attackers. He and Yusupov tussle. He breaks free, runs up the stairs into the courtyard. They have him in their sights, and they unload on him. He collapses, finally, hopefully, dead in the snowbank. And then they take his body and dump him in the river. Anastasia is the non-Disney princess who has the most costume changes in a single movie. So we will begin with 8-year-old Anastasia at the ball in the Winter Palace. Now, we know the people of Russia did not storm the Winter Palace at the exact moment of the grand ball. And according to the movie, it was a ball to commemorate Nicholas's rule. 8-year-old Anya wore a traditional 17th century Russian court robe, teal blue, golden embellishments. By an edict of Tsar Nicholas I, enacted in 1834, Russian court dress was strictly regulated. From 1834 to 1917, the unusual ethnic dresses of the Russian court ladies became instantly recognizable from Western court dress. A bodice, a train, long detached sleeves, a visible underskirt, and a tiara crescent headdress called a kokoshnik. 8-year-old Anya's teal blue robes with gold embellishments contain the same basic components, but this look is the most prevalent when Anya is reunited with her grandmother. Let's fast forward to the end of the movie and claims her rightful place as the Grand Duchess Anastasia. Her debut gown, gold and pink open visible underskirt off the shoulder number with the blue sash, has all the components of a traditional Russian court dress: the kokoshnik tiara, the long slashed hanging sleeves, the train, the bodice. Anya looks a peak princess. She looks spectacular in it. The train, the gown swishes, the sleeves swishes. I just love that part when she is heading up the stairs and Dimitri is coming down the stairs after rejecting the reward money from her grandmama. Oh my gosh. It's like Dimitri has always been very money obsessed. I mean, I guess you have to when you live in Soviet Russia. I guess you can say Dimitri is of a capitalist mindset. I mean, he's always trying to get ahead. He's always trying to get rich. When he finally gets his money, his rubles, it doesn't matter anymore because he realizes that he lost the one true treasure he had all along. Oh my gosh. So we fast forward 10 years later. St. Petersburg is gloomy. St. Petersburg is bleak. Since the revolution, their lives have been so gray. They rely on that gossip to get them through the day. Speaking of that gossip, of Anastasia, the youngest daughter in the Romanov family, did she survive? No, she didn't. So I am struggling today. I'm struggling to speak. I'm struggling to be much like Anya struggled for the next 10 years of her life after she hit her head, lost her family, and acquired amnesia. So Anya spends the next 10 years of her life in an orphanage. She is kicked out when she becomes of legal age. She's the only orphan in the place that has an American accent. Only Anya and Dimitri have American accents. I don't know where they've acquired this, but we'll just go with it. Anya leaves the orphanage. She's very cheery, very chipper. Anya is dressed in what I like to call her struggle outfit, her peasant garbs, comrade robes. She is dressed just like those old-timey black and white photos of the Russian agrarian peasants as they collectively harvest wheat for the motherland. She's wearing the raggedy peasant tunic, asymmetrical buttons, a well-worn pair of leather boots, needs resoling, a hand-me-down from the last orphan who left the orphanage, rakish newsboy cap, illustrative of Anya's struggles as a woman coming of age without means, in search of her home, love, family, and hopefully some money. She's poor. Anya is, for lack of a better word, poor. She doesn't have a penny to her name. The only worldly possessions that she owns is her key to the music box given to her by her grandmama back in her other life as a Romanov. Rumor has it that when the Romanov family were fleeing their palaces, they sewed diamonds in the hems of their dresses. Who knows if Anya arrived at this orphanage with diamonds sewn into her dress? She could be packing serious means of wealth to pawn off. Anya spends most of the movie dressed in her struggle outfit, and the struggle outfit also comes with a dashing trench coat, which looks better in animation than I think it would actually be in real life. The trench coat would probably be made of wool. It would probably be a hand-me-down, threadbare, packed with straw to keep you warm from the bitter Russian winters, taken from the corpse of a fallen comrade. Of course, Anya's outfit is not complete complete without her fingerless gloves, a staple of any homeless person's outfit. She is homeless, unfortunately. She was kicked out of the orphanage. So I assume that the Soviet Union would employ children. It's like a well-oiled machine. Everybody is working around the clock. So I would assume that they would have put these children right to work. They would have no time to linger, no leisure time. They would be working 16-hour days in the fields with their sickle and their pickaxe, gathering bushels of wheat that they can't eat, or they would be shipped off to a factory, greasing dangerous machinery, losing limbs, polishing the inside of war shells. The orphans would not have any leisure time. So I don't know why Anya was just so relaxed when she was booted out of the orphanage. By the age of 18, she would have lived a life. She would already look like the old crone that ran the orphanages because she would have been put through the ringer, harvesting wheat, polishing shoes, her little grubby orphan hands, maybe turning tricks on the street. But as it were, Anya is at the peak of health. She's able to walk all the way to St. Petersburg in the length of a song so that she can go to Paris and find her family. Journey to the past. Home, love, family. There was once a time I must have had them too. That's what Anya wants. She wants to go back to the past. A very boomer thing to want. This movie was written probably by boomers. At last. Oh, it seems that the construction has gotten worse. Not only is there a saw, there's hammering. Lots of hammering. So you know what that means. I have to be louder. And I have to sing more. Do you want that? I don't think you do. Anya leaves for St. Petersburg. She tries to buy a ticket to Paris, very confidently, by the way. She is no wilting Russian violet. She is a very confident, brass woman. She is kind of like Mae West. She tries to buy a ticket to Paris, but the borders have been closed. Nobody is leaving Russia anytime soon. So she makes her way into the abandoned ruins of the Winter Palace. She was one of the first urban explorers, exploring with Josh. Be up there with the Dead Mall explorers. Inside the Winter Palace, she wanders to the ballroom, and there she breaks out into song. We see her in her glittering gold ball gown with blue sash and tiara. The cut with 3/4 sleeves, a square neckline, falls in line with the adolescent dress styles of the turn of the century, the 1910s, with a touch of modern sensibilities. If left unchecked, I can sit here and sing for you all the songs of Anastasia, but I won't, because I think some people will find that obnoxious, annoying, unbearable, torturous. Coincidentally, both Vlad and Dimitri are squatting in the Winter Palace. They are living there rent-free, which is a great thing to do back in the day. I don't know how much a studio apartment would cost in Soviet Russia at the time, but why not? Nobody's using the Winter Palace for any purpose. Why not live there? Why not live like a king? I don't know what Dimitri does for a profession outside of being a con man. I don't know if he has a job. He is probably the only comrade that refuses to work, which is very ballsy at the time, because they probably kill you if you do not produce for the Kremlin. They would make you disappear. Dimitri and Vlad are the only two who refuses to work. They're not going to sit in line punching their time cards. They've acquired a mansion. They're not paying any rent. They actually might have a lot of money because they are not paying rent. And I believe that they're both unemployed. So Anya is unemployed. Dimitri and Vlad are both unemployed. Vlad used to be a member of the Imperial Guard, but when he lost that job, he decided never to work again. Dimitri, he used to be a kitchen boy, and we know that Dimitri likes to steal. He was caught on camera stealing an apple. Vlad used to be an Imperial Guard for the family, and I don't know if he was really good at his job. Maybe that's why he was let go. Seems to me like one of those cops that just sits around and eats donuts all day, judging by his physique. But I'm not fat shaming this man. He's a teddy bear. He seems to be kind of like a skirt chaser. He likes them thick and bouncy. While he was employed by the Romanov family, he and cousin Sophie were getting it on. Once the Romanovs have been done away with, once the structure has fallen, Vlad has refused to work thereafter. Maybe he was disabled, and then he took to the drink. He's drunk his cares away, and he's paired up with Dimitri. And Dimitri, we know that he is a con man, and he prescribes to the 4-hour work week where he works smarter, not harder. You will never catch him breaking his back at a factory. You will never catch him shoveling coal, cobbling shoes, harvesting wheat. He's a foxy opportunist, multiple entrepreneur, and a pretty boy. I mean, obviously, he has to be a pretty boy with floppy teen idol 90s hair. He's a sharp-dressed man. He and Vlad are quite the confidence men. They're quite the duo. Vlad provides the compassion, the counterfeiting abilities, making fake IDs and fake passports. Dimitri provides the charm. And boy, does he have charm. I, for one, 13-year-old me, was very charmed by this animated man, very taken with him, very bewitched. So they catch Anya indulging in her delusions, singing to herself, dancing, pretending that she lives in the past. And Dimitri is somehow angry by this. I mean, he doesn't own this palace, but he's kind of angry that she has trespassed upon his domain. He kind of like chase her up the stairs, and there they see that she is the perfect older version of the portrait of young Anastasia. They have the same almond-shaped eyes, the Romanoff eyes, they have the same red hair, and Dimitri is very taken with the possibility of grooming her into Anastasia so that they could con her poor grieving grandmama for money. And that, oh my gosh. So I've just realized that I was really into this character. I thought he was the actual best, better than all the Disney princes combined. They didn't hold a candle to Dimitri. I was blinded by his charm. I was blinded by his fluid animated movements because, you know, you have to confess, didn't he just move in a sexy way? I mean, didn't Dimitri mince around? There's just something about this guy. I mean, like, I know all the ladies in real life are really into Rasputin, but for me, Dimitri, no last name. He has no last name. He just goes by Dimitri. It's like Cher, Madonna, Dimitri. Dimitri, no last name, is my idea of the Russian love machine. So anyways, I'm just realizing that Dimitri is actually kind of a garbage person to pick up some girl off the street in her struggle tunic, in her threadbare fingerless gloves, and try to groom her to become a princess so that he can fleece her grieving, probably suffering from dementia grandmama for money is actually not a nice thing to do. And shame on you, Dimitri. Shame on you, Vlad, for encouraging this. Vlad may seem like such a teddy bear from the outside, but I've seen him grabbing Sophie and grinding up on her. So I know that behind Vlad's fatherly exterior is another Russian love machine. There's my childhood ruined. So I thought Dimitri had the best clothes out of all the animated men in the 90s. What do we have to compare him to? We have Prince Eric, who is going for a dashing pirate look. He's the puffy white shirt, kind of unbuttoned. I think he likes to show a little bit of his chest. And he's got the tight pants, boots, and sash. Okay, never mind. Prince Eric is actually kind of hot. What is he the prince of? Denmark? I think he's got like a sexy swashbuckler thing going on, but he is dumb as a rock, and that's not really attractive. I mean, how can you not even recognize your own fiance? You royal mimbo. Prince Eric is kind of appealing, but he is dumb, so that kind of lowers his appeal a little. And then we have Aladdin, who has no shirt, but fortunately he doesn't have any chest hair. That's fine with 7-year-old me, because we do not want any chest hair on our more animated men. That's what the villain would have. Jafar would have, if he were to take off his robes, he would be sprouted. He would have an entire bush all over his chest, all over his nipples. But Aladdin, I was gonna say Prince Eric, but they look alike, don't they? Aladdin, what is he wearing? This vest? I don't know. These MC Hammer pants. It's a little douchey. He dresses his monkey like himself. Talk about ego here. Simba, I mean, he's a lion. And I suppose he's naked for most of the movie. Maybe Simba is outranking Prince Eric here because even though Prince Eric has the swashbuckler look, we have Simba who is naked, so you can't really beat that, and he's like a lion. John Smith, he's dressed kind of like a conquistador, like a mesh between the conquistador look, the Sir Francis Drake look. He's got his armor, he's got his 90s mullet, and he's got Mel Gibson's voice. Back in the 90s, Mel Gibson was considered a heartthrob. He was a People's Magazine pick for Sexiest Man of the Year, but then he fell from grace when he drank a little too much, kind of like Vlad, and he called his arresting officer sugar tits. That kind of knocks John Smith out of the running. He's dressed like a conquistador, ready to colonize. I don't find that very attractive, to be honest. I'm living in fear of being colonized every day of my life. Of course, my husband is white, so one can say that I've already been colonized. Anastasia comes out, not even a Disney movie, and Dimitri just blows everybody out of the water, even naked Simba. Prince Eric, dumb as a rock, naked brooding Simba. Who cares about them? Because we have Dimitri, con man, Russian love machine in my book. He's Russian, whether he's a love machine or not. I was hoping that would be in the Anastasia sequel, but all we got was a movie about Bartok. Dimitri has the best wardrobe. He has maybe 4 outfits, maybe 5 if you count his kitchen boy rags, but we're not talking about Dimitri the boy. We are talking about Dimitri the man and his clothes. Dimitri has a vest. He rolls up the sleeves of his dress shirt, displaying his very firm, very animated forearms. I find the vest and the rolled up shirt sleeve look very appealing. It reminds me of a 19th century barber. And Dimitri, obviously, he wears pants. Unlike the Beast in that bathing scene, they are pleated trousers. How high do you think his pants go? Is he Mertzen? Dimitri was Mertzen. He's wearing those pants as high as it would go, but you wouldn't know it. His vest covers up the waistline of his pants. Sometimes he would wear an overcoat. He looks good in it, fits his very fit body, but I especially like it when he would strip off this overcoat, roll up his shirt sleeves, and display the vest. The teal vest, paired with a brown pair of pleated trousers and maybe some Oxfords. As appropriate for menswear of the 20s, he is rocking a newsboy cap, indicating his youth. But if we are to be sticklers for period costume accuracy, Dimitri would wear a straw boater. Straw boaters were very popular in the 20s. Everybody looked like they were ready to jump on a rowboat and punt at the drop of a dime. Dimitri's hair is peak 90s teen idol, the Leo DiCaprio hair, Nick Carter hair, Devon Sawa as the human form of Casper, JTT, flappy, floppy bangs. The middle parted bowl cut. In the 20s, men have parted their hair in the middle. F. Scott Fitzgerald, author of The Great Gatsby, check out his hair. Look at that really crisp, very distinct center part. I don't know what the hell is going on with the rest of his hair. It looks a little devilish. It looks like somebody has dropped an anvil right in the middle of his head and parted his hair follicles to the side. Lay off the pomade, old sport. But Dimitri doesn't have this problem. Dimitri has great hair. He has maximum floppability. This is hair that would get in your eyes, but then you just sweep it back oh so casually. I quite adore it. About his vest. His vest would probably usually have a little pocket at the side, and he would probably carry a little comb pocket watch. Vests were very popular in menswear in the 20s, especially the knitted vest, the kind that you wear to the golf course. Everybody wanted to look like a golfer. Whether you were on the course or off the course, you wore your knitted Argyle vest with your +4s, your golf pants, in addition to looking like you are ready to hop on a boat and punt with your boater hat. You have your golf pants and your golf shoes. The double-breasted blazer. I believe Dimitri has rocked the double-breasted blazer in the Perry holds the key to your heart montage. He got it from Chanel. I assume that they all went on a Chanel shopping spree. Chanel was probably not very expensive back in the 20s. It was before she became a household name, but there it is, the double-breasted blazer. Very popular amongst men in the 20s, but especially with gangsters. Prohibition era style was booming in the 20s. The double-breasted blazers, pantsuit look, the pinstripes. Dimitri did not wear any pinstripes, but he did wear a rose in his buttonhole. And we'll talk about that rose later because it has romantic significance. Dimitri and Anya and Vlad and their dog Puka make it to Paris. And there they indulge in a carousel of outfit changes. Let me just roll down my sleeves because I don't want to get you too excited with the sight of my forearms. So many outfit changes. They hook up with Cousin Sophie. Cousin Sophie is a Parisian fashionista. She is a very beautiful, bountiful, jiggly, plus size lady. So speaking of Dimitri, and I will speak of Dimitri for quite a while from this point on, so hold on to your butts. He is the only animated character that really appreciates and notices Anya's wardrobe changes. He buys her a dress. It is so big, she thinks it looks like a tent. And I think that's really adorable considering that he is grooming her. You would think your groomer would buy you some sexy bodycon number. Since they are in the 20s, he would probably buy her a slinky flapper dress. But that is not the case. He buys her a very matronly dress, which she DIYs, by the way, into something more attractive. He always notices everything she wears. Even he was very surprised that she was able to make the most out of her DIY circus tent dress. Was that the first time that they fell in love? I don't know. And then when they go to Paris, hook up with Cousin Sophie, who takes them on a designer shopping spree to Chanel. And Anya appears in her thoroughly modern lavender outfit, her drop waist pleated dress. Dimitri, you know, his eyes just go boom, straight up and down her body. And I think he's looking at her legs. That is a very risque. I mean, it's a modern look for the 20s. You don't see grandmama wearing that. Her lavender Chanel number isn't exactly a flapper dress, but it does cater to the silhouette of the 20s, the thoroughly modern drop waist silhouette that was so popular at the time. For the first time, women were showing off their arms, showing off their legs, showing off her sensible Mary Janes. And I think Dimitri notices when you think about it. Her outfit change from struggle rags to blue tent dress to a drop waist number that shows off her legs from the knees down and some arm real estate. That was very scandalous. That's a lot of flesh for the 20s. This look catered to the Art Deco aesthetic, streamline, embracing modernity, geometric shapes, casting away old ideas. Dimitri notices her transformation. Dimitri notices every single one of Anya's transformations. He notices the blue tent dress. He notices the lavender Chanel drop waist dress. And he certainly notices her blue figure skater number. And he definitely notices her evening gown. Her purple or blue, depending on how you look at it, very glittery evening gown. I don't know exactly what time period this evening gown is from. It certainly doesn't look very 20s. If I had to pinpoint a time period for this midnight blue evening dress, it would be the 90s. She looks like an Academy Award nominee at the 1997 Oscars. The strapless dress is kind of like, it's like Calvin Klein. Peak 90s minimalist glamour. Dimitri is completely gaga when she takes off her teal blue fur coat and reveals the dress. And this scene reminds me a lot of Titanic. The same scene when Jack takes a gander of Rose and her maroon evening dress. Connection. Titanic premiered in 97. Those were the days. Those were the days. Those were some great movies back then. Movies suck right now. Dimitri is 100% bewitched, stunned into speechlessness by Anya's transformation from her struggle orphan look to a beautiful, glittering princess. And we love to see it. We love to see that My Fair Lady moment when she is nothing but a gutter snipe, when she transforms into a lady. And the man who grooms her falls in love with her. Anastasia and Dimitri, they have a very touchy relationship. Very gentle, touching moment. Dimitri is sneaking a kiss on Anya's hand. The almost kiss after they were dancing. The tussle in the train. Oh, remember when he fell on her legs? When Rasputin was trying to blow them up. Oh, it's just so romantic. They have so much chemistry. When she pinned a rose to his buttonhole when they were at the Moulin Rouge. Oh my gosh. When he was low-key stalking her in his champagne glass. And the rose, like every time he looks at this rose, he thinks about her because she's like the rose of his life. So don't you think it was like so sweet when he hijacked her grandmama? I wish my husband would kidnap my grandmama. My grandma. Maybe not. That's not like legal. Maybe it was legal back in the 20s. It was like a free-for-all. It was like the wild, wild west. You just did whatever you wanted to do. If you wanted to make an old lady speak to you, you pretend to be her driver and you hijacked her, and it was okay. Nobody arrested you for anything. When she thought he was dead, but he lives because he got hit on the back of the head with a bridge. And then finally, when they eloped, oh my God, they eloped! They eloped! This movie is magic to me that even at this old decrepit age, I am still a 13-year-old girl going gaga over this romance. Let's talk about the eloping. Okay, let me loosen up my puff sleeves. They eloped because he's poor and she's not. She is no longer poor. He's the poor guy. She's the rich girl now. He's not royal. They can't marry. He's not related to her. They can't marry. She must now marry a titled aristocrat and possibly somebody related to her. So she's got to give up her crown, her kokoshnik, and live a life as an ordinary person again. Kind of defeats the purpose of her whole journey to the past, to be with her grandmama. Now she leaves her grandmama for a man, but what a man. They're back on a boat, and they're back in a continuation of their waltz. Anya's always had... There's a bug. Anya has always had so much agency. She's the one that defeated Rasputin despite Dimitri coming to her rescue. And she is the one that leads in the dance. She's the one that wears the pants, really. Dimitri goes in for the kiss. Anya leans in farther. Their kiss is so romantic. Their kiss is actually kind of hot. She gets to touch the floppy bangs for herself. That's something I've always dreamed of. What would it feel like? What would it feel like when he sweeps her up in his arms and they kind of like do this twirl thing? Ugh, it's just so romantic. It's actually sickening, to be honest. I'm just so happy for them, even though they're not real. I really hope their marriage works out now that Anya is in the depths of another quarter-life crisis because she's given up her title. I don't know what else she would do since she's actually never been employed. Will Dimitri have to go back to being a con man? And if so, I really hope this doesn't affect their marriage. I really hope that they don't become con people together, like Bonnie and Clyde. I really hope that they don't go around stealing people's identities, and I really hope that Grandmama will give them something under the table, give them a yearly allowance so that Dimitri or Anya do not have to go back to St. Petersburg and turn tricks on the corner. But now that they're in Paris, why would they go back to St. Petersburg? They'll just turn tricks in Paris. Dimitri's already got a great gig as Rodin's model, and I'm sure Anya can find some work at the Moulin Rouge as a can-can girl. Anya could probably model for Chanel or whatever. She's perfect in every way. Perhaps the future is not very bleak for them. They're obviously very streetwise people and very beautiful. Dimitri's floppy hair will get him far. Hopefully not as a gigolo.